project so unique and exciting. The first of those components is the field recordings that Glenn has been capturing while on tour around the world with Wilco. And those field recordings will frame the narrative arc of the piece.
I'm obsessed about making field recordings, recording found sounds or interesting sounds.
Okay, so here I am in Berlin on a rainy day, about to record a truck. I'm back and just sifting through some recordings I've made.
You know, sometimes I use them as a blueprint for pieces, but it just always keeps my ears very awake and in tune, and it's been hugely valuable for me.
Glenn and the engineers at the University of Notre Dame are designing new instruments specifically for this project.
And I think collaborating with different fields outside of just music can yield a lot of great ideas and a lot of possibilities that you may otherwise not stumble upon.
For me, the most exciting part of the whole process has been the simultaneous design or composition of this musical piece while coming up with the instruments.
The new instruments that are being designed will be constructed on stage with the sounds of the construction of the instruments integrated into the performance, and then performed as musical instruments, and then deconstructed or destroyed on stage also as part of the performance. So the audience gets to see the complete life cycle of a musical work in a way that has really never existed before.
Studying the vibrations of large and small bells helps us understand the sounds of one of the world's oldest musical instruments. And bells are some of the oldest instruments. People moved from the Stone Age to the Iron Age. One of the first things they probably figured out how to do is to make objects that ring.
What we did is we actually recorded every single bell, and we recorded it with many different mallets, and I had hundreds of little micro sound samples so that I could listen to them, because you really need to be with the exact bell. They all have different intonations, different kinds of decay. If you hit them with one mallet, you get one kind of sound. If you hit it with another mallet, you get a different kind of overtone or a different decay. So it's incredibly complicated.
One of the amazing things about percussion is that there are percussion instruments that are indigenous to almost every single culture in the world. And that's also true of bells.
And I think it's also fascinating because it's basically all just metal. And mankind, for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years, has turned metal into these objects of beauty and spirituality that are very small or very large.
It's been striking, I think, how many more similarities that there are than there are differences. I think when we think about a discipline, whether it's science and engineering, the STEM fields, or the arts, we first tend to think about it in terms of the fact base or the content, not so much the different modes of thinking that you use when you're operating within one of those fields. And within both of them, there are two, I think, main sort of modes of thought that play off each other. There's the analytic and experimental side, which usually we associate with the sciences, and then there's the creative or synthetic side, which is what we usually associate with the arts. But really, those operate strongly in both. Working with Third Coast, it's been interesting to see how much experimentation and analysis and having a hypothesis and seeing if something doesn't work is a part of their creative process. And really that's what we see in science and engineering. Using the scientific method, we might have a hypothesis, we'll run an experiment. If our idea pans out, then we encapsulate that idea and use it to drive the creative engine, say in engineering, when we're trying to design something. I've learned that musicians, operate much the same way, that they'll try something out. They see if it works. If it does, they kind of encapsulate that as a piece of knowledge that they can store away, and then use that to drive the creative engine of composing a piece.